Sunday Symposium, We're Still Here, presented by Native Roots Radio Network. This is a Native conversation of where we've been and where we're going.
Ho Chunk Raja, Wakunja Hade, Hinga Dana. Greetings, my friends and relatives in four directions. This is Native Roots Radio Network presents We're Still Here, the Sunday Night Symposium, and it's great to have everybody here watching and also on. One of the exciting things that we can do each Sunday is have a different topic. And with what's happening right now, we thought a great topic would be Stop Line 3. And so we're here to educate and also build a big circle of people all over Turtle Island to support our neighbors up north. And we're still here. So what I would really love to do right now is open it up to the big water protector, Winona LeDuc of Honor the Earth. Pinigigi for being here, Winona. Go ahead, Winona.
I'm here with, hi, I mean, it's Winona the water protector with, I got here Tanya, the other water protector, another one of them. And we're happy to be here. We're over by East Lake, actually in the town of Cromwell, you know, and what I want to say is that like right now we've been looking around and, you know, since the permits were approved by the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency, it seems that Enbridge has been really busy moving all kind of equipment all over the north and moving in all kind of guys. And it's a pretty deep concern up here. So we were out looking, you know, I mean, most of the permit that, you know, if Enbridge is allowed to proceed, it's on public land. And so being the public and all, we thought we'd go and see what was happening to our public lands. And so it's pretty concerning. You know, we've talked about it, and 4,200 workers in the middle of a pandemic. We think that's a really bad idea. 4,200 workers, and they're getting enrolled now. Now Tanya's here. She can put her face up here in this. We're out in the bush here. Oh, look at that. See? Tanya was with me. Anything to say, Tanya?
Yeah. Hello. We've been giving tours about where the pipeline is going to be heading to from one area to the other, and we've been able to point out the different wild rice beds that it's going to contaminate when that pipeline breaks. And we've been also showing where the pipe yards are and also where the matting places are and where the diggers are. And we had a good group of people that came in this last weekend, and they were very interested in being able to see what they could do to come and help us stand in prayer and to be able to fight up against this line 3 here.
Oh, that's a good one. Hey, we need to like really communicate, you guys. And how can we get the communication like we had with Standing Rock? How can we all be on the same page, Winona?
Well, there's going to be a few, you know, a lot of things going on. And I think what she's talking about too, so we had our first welcome water protector tour, and Don will be doing some of these too, because we want people to see what is going on up here. And so we met in Cromwell. Was that yesterday?
Yes.
We kind of lost track of ourselves. And we had, I kid you not, a herd of Priuses have come to the North Country. I think the revolution will be in Priuses. Some of them, but can't get stuck in the snow and all. But people are really interested in what it looks like up here. They've been working to protect our water for the cities, but we decided that we should offer these tours to show, you know, the sites that are up here. It's for people to know. So we're having one again next weekend, and we'll be at least having them once a week, maybe twice a week now, encouraging people in a COVID-safe way to come and view the man camps and the pipe yards and you know, so keep an eye on that. But then the other thing is what we really need is a stay. I think that's what it's called, where all those permits were issued, but you know what? We're in a pandemic and we can't even gather 10 people. You know, we can't even gather our extended families for the holidays, but apparently Enbridge can gather 4,200 people. And so I think that's a pretty big health hazard at present. And they should just relax and chill out, you know, wait this pandemic out like the rest of us, because there's nothing so urgent about this pipeline that would cause us to go into towns, counties like Aiken County only has 4 ICU beds.
Right.
So
Winona, one of the exciting things that happened when Walz made this decision is that Lieutenant Governor and House Representative, New State Senator Mary Kunesh put their feelings in, and that they were not for it. And so it's great to have some of our leaders step up.
We're grateful to you, Mary. We're grateful to the Lieutenant Governor too, and we just really need a little common sense to prevail here. And everybody knows we're deeply concerned as water protectors, but we're also mothers and grandmothers. And the whole idea that this pipeline should bring in all those high-risk workers. They walk around the north with no masks on. A lot of them are armed. And then these other questions are like, we have pictures of Hubbard County. Enbridge is unloading equipment for the Hubbard County. How does that work? Who's in charge of watching what is going on with the unlicensed security guards, all that crazy stuff? Who's in charge of that? Who's protecting the public? That's kind of the questions that we feel should really be answered here. And Don, I know you got some thoughts on this same thing too, because you see the same things we do.
Yep, definitely. We're worried here. Up here in the Northland, Clearwater County, we've dealt with racial and social tensions all our lives. My parents have, relatives have, our community. So it's gotten more tense. And as the days go by, they will continue to be intense. So we're in a dangerous area. I don't like to be out and about by myself, especially late at night. So I did, along with some of my friends, Tanya in particular, one of her signs was shot many times. Mine was stolen, and the little pegs or the sticky thing that goes into it was wrapped around my 911 sign. I felt, that was a little aggressive. So yeah, we're on the alert as far as that goes. And then with the COVID, that's another thing on top of everything. Yeah, we're in a pandemic. It's a deadly disease for many people. We don't know how it's going to affect certain people. Some people are coming out of it good. We don't know the long-term effects of it. So there's so much at play here. And I'm up in Clearwater County, and we'll be getting out communications through RISE Coalition. So if you were not following us, follow us on RISE Coalition. I'm one of the co-founders of that. And it stands for Resilient Indigenous Sisters Engaging. So
That's
we'll be
great.
giving updates, yes. And right now, we're going for that stay. And we need to ask the Department of Commerce to ask for a stay. That would be our strongest bet.
Well, I think the health commissioner too should think about this. This is a health crisis. We're going to drive a little bit here. We might lose you here shortly, but we wanted to check in a little bit. But we got to cruise along here a little bit. There you go.
Well, Pini Gigi for stopping in, and all you're doing up there. We need to really communicate on your needs up there in the deep north and how we can help you here in the cities and all over Turtle Island. So hopefully you and I will be working on that, Winona, so we can have like a daily update and we can blast it out on our website and our Facebook. So I really appreciate you coming on and spending some time with us and doing the work you do.
Be a water protector.
All right. Wow, cool. Thank you. Pini Gigi, Winona, thank you so much. Wow. And we have Tara Hauska here. And Tara, I know there's a lot of stuff going on up in the deep north, and what we were kind of talking about in the beginning here is how we can support you. And one of the interesting things that happened during Standing Rock, what I felt like was when Standing Rock was going on, there was people that were giving us a daily update of what was happening, and they were getting a lot of views on Facebook. And I think we need something like that where we can all go to one place and blast it out and get daily updates of what's going on. Welcome, Tara Hauska, to the show tonight. So you're so busy feeding your people up there. I was just on a no mascot thing with you. It seems like these Zooms and these shows, and I really appreciate you having capacity to show up, because I know you're up there outside doing the work. And I wonder if you could just let our audience that's watching this all over Facebook know what you're doing, Tara.
I mean, the last week I've actually technically been inside because I've been sick all week. So, but I have a negative COVID result, so maybe I'm negative COVID. I have no idea. I still don't feel very well, but I guess for everyone that's watching, that's maybe new to Line 3 or new to the struggle or anything like that, you're definitely in good company. A lot of these ladies have been working on this issue for a number of years. A lot of these folks have been working on fossil fuel resistance for decades. So it's a ongoing piece of a long-standing battle to protect the sacred and to move our people into a different way of thinking, a different way of knowing. I've been on the ground for the last 3 years now. We founded the Nime camp. It's about 200 yards off the proposed Line 3 route. I'm part of GNU Collective. We're like a Indigenous women Two-Spirit-led group that teaches folks how to engage in the system at all the different levels, how to try to challenge the system, how to grow food, how to harvest wild rice, how to live in balance and try to do something different at the same time that we're trying to protect the things that we have left. It's been a long fight, and it's really disappointing to see our Democratic governor with his Anishinaabe lieutenant governor, that particular administration making a decision the way that they have. That said, there are some lawsuits that I heard Winona mention right before I hopped in. Department of Commerce is actually suing the Public Utility Commission. They have been for quite some time. That is something that we can all do to engage. Call the Department of Commerce and tell them to join in on a stay of construction injunction that basically allows all of the legal issues that have been brought up to be challenged and for the pipeline not to be built while that's happening. So we don't want to end up in a situation like Dakota Access where years and years later, yeah, it turns out the tribe was actually right, but we already built the pipeline. So too bad, so sad. That's kind of like a standard playbook of fossil fuel industry to get their way. So Department of Commerce called in, and then Department of Health. I mean, 1 in 10, right? That's where we're at. 1 in 10 of us have COVID-19 right now. I mean, I'm sure every single person on this call has been touched by COVID-19 in one way or another. That some relative has either been sick by it, maybe they've been sick by it, someone might have passed away. I mean, this has been hard hitting in Black and Brown communities, especially in Native country and Indian country. It's been an epidemic. I mean, of elders and folks that we've lost, young people that we've lost. I mean, it's just, this is not a conspiracy theory for a lot of us. This is reality. This is like real situation. So like, to me, bringing in, we can't have Thanksgiving dinner like Winona said. We should be having Thanksgiving dinner if we're going to have dinner at all. But I mean, we're not even having that. We're not having our families together, but we're allowed to sit back and tell us, yeah, bringing 4,000 out-of-state workers into Minnesota to build a pipeline is totally fine. I mean, that's crazy. There are out-of-state places all over Park Rapids, Minnesota right now, all over the place. And there's multiple pipe yards, new work sites popping up everywhere we go along the line. I mean, it is happening. It is real. And there are people that are here in the middle of a pandemic. But yeah, that's kind of a little update. Very uplifting.
Well, how can we come together as one and support your work and how can I support it? You know, I want to get the word out there. I want to come up there and do radio shows. But what have we learned from Standing Rock, or what have we learned from, or what have you learned from being up there in the deep north, there camping, and how us down here in the cities can support you?
I mean, if you want to come and do some pirate radio, that'd be pretty badass. I mean, they had that out at Standing Rock. We had a van that was run by a gentleman that got, I mean, we're talking 20, 30,000 views on every person you can imagine pulled in from camp to share their perspective and share their thoughts on why they were there and what they were there for and what was going on that day. That's definitely a need. I think, you know, we've been, as GNU Collective, we've still been training people and bringing people in and doing that in a socially distanced COVID-19 safe way. So got to get your test. Well, I mean, reach out to us at GNU, GINIW at protonmail.com. When we figure out, like, you know, if you might be interested in actually coming and visiting, spending some time with us, you know, getting that COVID test is important, maintaining social distancing, being responsible, wearing a mask. I mean, it's like the basic things that we've been hearing for how many months now that people still are not doing. People are still out drinking in bars, for goodness sake. It's like, it's crazy to see. There's that. I mean, if you actually want to physically come to camp, there's ways to support if you want to, you know, maybe share the word. If you want to put together call lists and call the Department of Health, call the Department of Commerce. I think there's a good basic starting point would be visiting stopline3.org and learning about what's going on. I mean, there's some real basic information we got there for you. That's, you know, a lot of different folks over the years that have worked on this, that have been working on this, of, you know, you want to see the map to Line 3, you can click it and put it on your phone and see all the pump stations, all of the water crossings, the Line 3 project itself. I mean, you can learn a lot about just like where you're going and where it is, you know, to actually physically see something like that. There's also, you know, updates about, here we are, here's the general fight. If you want to know about the permits and like all the regulatory process, if that's interesting to you. There's also the longstanding resistance that's been going on to Line 3 for many, many years. That was targeted at the regulatory bodies, and now we're looking at more the company themselves and the havoc that they're already wreaking on northern Minnesota. I mean, I see Tasha's on this call, and Dawn too. I mean, we know these things are already happening. You know, they've been happening for a while. It's not like this is just because the governor gave the approval, now we have to worry about construction. No, it's already been happening. They've already been in our wetlands. They've already been in our communities. They've been all over the place for a while now. But now we're seeing, like, I mean, there's a new yard that popped up less than 10 minutes from camp. It's massive. It's got huge tents, you know, man camp facilities, all that stuff. I mean, it's there. And it's one of many that are happening all over the state. So get involved. You want to come and stand alongside Indigenous leadership and stand alongside Indigenous people and protect the land that affects us all, the watershed that affects us all. I mean, there are ways to do that. You know, there are ways to stand in a good way and to, you know, give your prayers up, give your body up, give your, you know, whatever sacrifice you're willing to make for future generations. That's what we're really all here for, right? Is those to come. And heard Don talk many times about, it's not just us, it's the four-leggeds, it's the wings, it's the fish, it's everything. It's not just, I mean, I think people get hung up on, oh, it's just this one pipeline. It's not just this one pipeline. And it's not that we've been doing something for so long that we should just keep doing it. What we're talking about is the decision that human beings have to make in the time of the seventh fire, to either walk with each other in a good way, or to choose greed and destruction and watch ourselves just basically go underwater, which is already happening in the global south. I mean, that is already happening. We have a decision to make. And if we're going to continue on the path that we are on, we are going to self-destruct. And we are already in the process of doing that. We're losing mass species extinction. All these things are happening in real time. We're talking about the continued risk and expansion of the tar sands, the dirtiest fossil fuel in the world. Line 3 is 10% by itself, 10% expansion of the tar sands. That's insanity. Half the country was on fire this year, and it burned. They don't even know if the fires are actually going to go all the way out by next year. Like, they don't know that that's going to happen. I mean, that should be a wake up call to us, but I don't even know if like that's really getting through, because people are still like, well, we need to have bridge fuels, and we got to keep the economy going, and we got to make sure that we do a careful analysis and transition. I mean, how are you going to be arguing about the economy when you don't have clean water to drink? How are you going to argue about, what profit margins you have if you can't grow food from the soil? These are real thoughts that are real conversations and decisions that we need to make as a human species and figure out where we're going. And the people of this land, the people that are on this call, I think that we all know that that's the case. I mean, I think, we've got our elected officials on here. I see Mary and Audrey both. I mean, trying to have that representation in this system, trying to have a voice heard. I mean, I feel like we're trying to throw everything we can at surviving, and people need to, not just people, but I think all of us, hopefully collectively stand together and find our bravery, because that's what needs to happen.
Tara, I know you're really tired and not feeling well, and we're gonna let you go soon. But what I would like to do, if you don't mind, is have the panel here just maybe ask a question, or maybe even have a comment of support for you before you go. House Representative, New State Senator Mary Kunesh, do you mind saying a few words?
I can't unmute. There we go.
You're
sorry,
unmuted. I can hear you.
Okay, good. I wasn't able to unmute for a minute there. Thank you, Tara, for all your good hard work up there. I know the coalition up there is just unbelievable and so very strong. And the things that you tell us are, while we're not surprised, it sure is heartbreaking. The fact that we are allowing, thousands of people from out of state, when, at the state legislature, we heard, oh, these are all jobs for Minnesota, jobs for Minnesota, jobs for Minnesota. But when you're bringing in that number of workers from out of state, it makes me wonder, really and truly, how many of those jobs actually are going to Minnesota. And anytime, I don't know about you, anytime I hear that phrase, man camp, the hackles on the back of my neck just go up, because we know that historically, violence against women, alcohol, drug use, all of those things skyrocket in communities. And from my knowledge and my understanding is that Enbridge has plans to do professional development and awareness, and those kind of things won't happen. They won't even acknowledge a rise in violence or the sex trafficking or the MMIW issues around man camps, because we can't prove the data. For me, they always say, where's the data? Show us the data. We don't find any information, or we can't find numbers. Well, that's one of the biggest problems, is that nobody really took the time to count and take that information down, whether it was the police or not. And I do remember a woman from Standing Rock telling me how her niece went missing during the uprising, and the police told the family that they really didn't have time. They had these other things to take care of, and that she probably ran off with a new boyfriend, or she's probably at the camp somewhere, or this or that. And it was really the aunt that finally went and tracked what happened and found that her daughter her niece had been murdered, and she had to go to North Dakota to bring the body home. And so the fact that anecdotally and historically we know there is a rise in violence against women, more alcohol is brought in, more drugs are brought in, but we don't have the data because nobody took the time to really track that and facilitate that. Really makes me worried, especially in this time of COVID, and especially the fact that up north there are so many avenues to bringing workers or sex people in and out, in and out, in and out in ways that we can't find it. And so those are the things that, those are that's just one of the things that really concerns me very much. But I do have a question for you, Tara. I know that so many of you water warrior women sent a letter to some of the companies that have in the past either supported financially or through banks or whatever the case may be. I know that you sent them a letter asking them to divest in Enbridge, and I'm wondering if you got any kind of a response to that.
Yeah, the divestment movement is kind of like I would say it's been a strategy that has been very successful and impactful. However, it's one that's like longer looking, right? So we look at upcoming loans, credit facilities, lending terms that are coming up, and like try to target those very, very heavily. The letter that we sent was actually led by myself and women of different struggles. So the Trans Mountain Pipeline, the Keystone XL pipeline, our pipeline, this line 3, it's not really our pipeline, I guess Enbridge's pipeline, and then the Coastal GasLink pipeline over in Wet'suwet'en territory. So it had women from all those different spaces and places, and then also women from the tar sands extraction point itself. So from Fort Chipewyan and all that area. I heard some things back from typically the way that it goes is we send these letters. We'll do a round of trying to get a meeting or something like that with the banking industry themselves, and then they'll respond to us and we'll figure out the meeting. It really depends on this is where you see again the pressure points of the ground versus the higher ups, the inside game. We don't get those meetings unless there's that pressure from the ground. We have to have that component. And so I think I've gotten some commitments to hop on calls and discuss their policies and all of that, but it really does take that extra push to get them to pull out their money. And then when that does happen, they do. And I mean, in the years that I've been involved in divestment work especially since the Dakota Access struggle, I mean, we're talking in the terms of $8 billion pulled out of that industry, pulled out of tar sands, pulled out of Arctic drilling, those extreme forms of extraction. So it is a strategy that I found a lot of success in. However, it is longer looking. And so it's really hard to be that silver bullet of stopping line 3 right now. You're going at the credit industry, hoping that if I can get, Bank of America to pull out, that means that Enbridge has to now find its credit rating or credit lending through smaller banks, which means higher risks, which means that they're less of a safe investment for investors. You're ultimately trying to get to the shareholders to be the shareholders can tell Enbridge to cancel line 3 tomorrow. You know what I mean? They are the decision makers.
Well, I'm wondering if Audrey Thayer, if you have a response to the work that Tara is doing and that you see happening up there.
Well, I certainly don't want to oversight Tara, but I'm concerned about Dawn because the ML3 signs are so increased. Just when you leave Bemidji, we've got them in Bemidji, but the ML3 signs, but they just flood all the way to Park Rapids, that area. And and Tara, you're in an isolated area, so I do worry. But that's the name of the game, right? We have to move forward. So in January when I get elected, when I get sworn in, I'm hoping that we're going to have to do an education piece, because one thing Bemidji City's never ever addressed or even touched that, and of course the mayor is George Prince.
and he has pipeline. He has pipes. That's his business, and he is our new mayor. So, relationship building, trying to start something, get some common sense, and then moving around into the businesses. So that'll probably be my angle, and trying to get as much pushed we can, and as well as listen closely when you said call Department of Commerce, the Department of Health, and ironically, I'm more thinking about the Department of Commerce right now, because the Department of Health, people are still going unmasked, that's it's not like health is not even a priority. It's about money. And and that's the other piece of this that I have to look at, is how to tie that money in, and to make sense to to Bemidji, because it's an educational piece that you have to do. Otherwise, and then the people who are in resistance, the ML3 people, I don't know if I'll ever get them to even look at anything. I'm not going to bother, but I'm going to be looking for the rest of the folks and see what we can do. And so the important piece of, what you do, and the many years that back in the day before my hair got white, you really, activism is so critical in moving people, so we cannot stop doing that. And it's exhausting sometimes. It's just exhausting. Two Inlets, thank you for Two Inlets. And I stayed close on that day watching what was going on there, and to stay informed. But and I'm not sure, and Mary maybe could be able to help me later. I haven't gotten a full training from the League of Cities yet, what I can say and what I can't say in public on social media. And I think it's just that I just don't have to. I just can't tie the Bemidji City Council into my statements, and I'm hoping that's correct. I want to make sure that I move methodically, but I don't want my voice silenced either, which is very important. So we'll see. But thank you, Miigwech, and I'm sorry you're ill, Tara. That's not good. Definitely not good.
And I would say too, I'm not going to give Park Rapids a pass, because our camp is pretty close to Park Rapids, and it was a month ago that we had 3 white men coming through the woods onto our property carrying an American flag, planning to do who knows what. And then the next morning, the sheriff showed up at our camp, drove all the way into our private property, and then arrested one of us on a 12-year-old warrant. So I would not give, Beltrami County, Hubbard County, Aiken County, St. Louis County, they've got Carleton County, they've all got their marching orders, and some of them are taking it in different directions for sure.
I know Beltrami had called on the Two Inlet one. And I was actually in a meeting with the city police chief at that time, Zooming, when that call came in on my scanner. And then I said, oh, by the way, why can't I get Bemidji scanner information? And he didn't want to answer me. But, that's okay. That's okay. I don't want to create enemies. I want to get them to really think about what they're doing. Good enough there?
Always good, Audrey, to have you. You always have a great insight. John, do you have?
I'm listening. That's our job. I'm moving out of activism into figuring out how the heck to change the world and do policy changes. This is going to be a nightmare. You have to really learn how to move forward in a good way. And I'm hoping that Dan Jourdain gets elected as well. So that I am not alone with Emily, her and I, because then we get outvoted on the city council. And I have no idea what I'm going to do with that mayor other than try to understand him. And, it is about money.
Definitely. Dawn, do you have a statement for Tara before she leaves? Any good words or any whatever you want to say?
Okay. Well, miigwech, Tara, for all the work you do and all the good vibes and good education that you sent out into the world to hear. And your support is very much appreciated here. So we'll see you soon.
Oh, you can't forget the work Dawn's doing too over there. You know,
Work at every single woman on this call, and you too, Robert. Sorry. In fact, everyone on this call works their butts off doing all kinds of different things for our people and for our land. And yeah.
Exactly. Well, I don't know the other lady's name. Do you mind introducing yourself and saying a few words?
Yeah, my name's Tasia Martineau, and I just want to thank Tara for all the hard work that she does. You know, they say that great leaders inspire other leaders, and Tara's definitely been a huge inspiration to me. So I want to thank you for all that you do to protect the sacred, and I'm just really grateful to be on this journey with you. Miigwech.
And yeah, and I want to really thank you, Tara, for coming on. I know the things are so draining, and so I really appreciate you just stopping in for a few minutes and really helping us start this show out in a good way. And go get some rest, please.
Okay. Miigwech Ginawa. Take good care.
All right. Pinigigi, thank you so much for being on. Awesome. Wow, you guys. I don't know. There's 2 people up there, and I want to hear what you guys are doing, Dawn, and I want to hear what's going on up there and how we can support you. I think seriously, one of the things that I'd really, really like to get set up there in the deep north is some way to communicate and bring out a daily message. How do you guys feel about that? How can we do that? How can we support you up there?
Yeah, right now, I'll probably have we'll just say I'll be glamping at home. For now, it's hard to say what's going to happen. There's a lot of state lands out there, a lot of places for people to go and explore. Yeah, I guess supporting. We'll be doing some daily reports, or every few days. We'll be out and about checking, watching the line. That's another thing. We actually have a group, and I've worked with them a little bit. It's called Watch the Line. You can find them. They have the website. There's opportunities also to be part of that if you're interested. But you'll find everything at Watch the Line. And there's a lot of information there. I work with many different organizations. Right now, we have had several different meetings. We've met with the governor and met with Keith Ellison. We met with public safety, and we will also be meeting with the Department of Commerce. So that's part of the work I do. Last week, I knew we needed to just get out and do something actually it was planned before the water permits. We didn't think they would issue water permits till Friday. So I just wanted to get out and bring awareness in Clearwater County. There's not been a lot of awareness there. So I invited Nancy and a few other people to come and have a sacred fire, practice our treaty rights. And so Nancy volunteered to make us this beautiful sign that said, "Caution, treaty rights in progress." So it's about educating, bringing awareness to what's going on, getting people up in this area. They know we haven't had a lot of actions. I did do a summit in Bagley where we invited commissioners and the city council. The mayor did show, and the police department showed. So I had a relationship built with the county sheriff. Let him know ahead of time we're going to be out practicing some treaty rights here by the bridge. So I thought that would be the best way. Just let them know what we were doing. And so they did come and tell us. That was on the Friday the 13th. We didn't want the cars on the road. We could park in the ditch or park in town or whatever. And then they asked us if we had a permit to have our fire. Yeah, so they said we needed a DNR permit. And I said, nah, we have treaty rights and religious rights. And Bob said, all right, go ahead, cite me. I'll take the citation. Write it up that they didn't cite us. And yeah, we won't get a permit to have a sacred fire. That's our right. And so we'll probably be doing some little more work and gonna visit some of these work sites and see what's going on and keep practicing our treaty rights and bringing awareness. So we'll do some reports. We do a live video that has gotten some good attention, a lot of good shares, and so I'll be doing an update and when we can, pulling Nancy on board, and I'm doing some social distance awareness, and yeah, we'll be out and about. It just makes it a lot more difficult for us to stand up and protect our homelands with this COVID. It's scary. So just support us, follow us with Rise Coalition. I'm also a representative of Indigenous Environmental Network. So we'll be doing some work with them and getting the word out there of what's going on. I guess I really want to stress about how we watched all of this happening. So in 2013, the Sandpiper was proposed. That would have carried Bakken crude. And so the same day that they were doing public testimony, they asked Enbridge if they had any more projects. Oh no, we don't have any more projects. But there was a gal in the audience that was with Honor the Earth. She had heard breaking news that day that Enbridge had a Line 3 project that they were going to propose. So that was the first time I heard about the Line 3 project. So they kind of got busted there at the Clearbrook hearing. And they said, well, it's not a new project, it's a replacement. So so we watched it all unfold. And then we watched the high power electric line being built. All the roads being repaired or are tarred. It's a lot of gravel roads. Now they have tar on them and everything's being upgraded. So we've been watching it for years. And then the pipe yards. There's been a pipe yard right next to the preferred route for several years now with pipe just sitting there aging near Besida here where I live. Enbridge doesn't have any pipelines in that area. So they've been staging for a long time. So, and buying land. Yeah, buying land. So we've been watching it happen, and it's really been discouraging, actually. None of the county commissioners showed up, and Clearwater County is pretty much dependent upon Enbridge and the tax dollars that they bring in to run the city. So it's sad. I hope to kind of bring some light to that and maybe free my community of those Enbridge dollars. What can we do that you have a choice? So that's where I live. So yeah, just support us as best you can. I don't know if we're going to be camping or what's going to be happening. I live fairly close, within driving distance. I have family members that I take care of, so yeah, they need me to be at home. And my partner has epilepsy, and he has it's hard for him in the mornings. He has little spells. Yeah, so it's been difficult, dealing with everything. And then I worry about my community. A lot of our people are very vulnerable right now with drug addictions, and so it is really scary. So all the support that you can give is so much appreciated, even if it's just sharing or writing a letter or learning about treaties and how you can support that. There is a treaty pledge on Minnesota 350. If you go to Minnesota350.com, you'll find the treaty pledge. A lot of good information there to get you started in learning about your treaty responsibility, that we all are treaty people. So I could just keep going on and on, I guess.
Oh, great, Ron. It is really great because you presented in such a calm fashion and educational fashion, and you laid it out. And of course, I visualized Bob right away when you brought him up, and I thought, yep, that would be him, and how he responds, because Bob's Bob, and I really love him for being Bob, because he just can do things that I just look at him and go, okay, and that's good. It has been. I think you've said it really well. We've sat and watched it, and I think that calls and letter writing is probably the big one right now for those who don't know what to do. And of course, financial support for the camps and for Native Roots Radio is really important. Because if we can, because it isn't going to be calm, and I understand that. And I get it. So that I'm already thinking, how do we, we're going to be just fine. We're just going to get through this. Our SEMA takes us through. I think about, our pipes and the SEMA, and that just walks us right through. We're doing what's right, Dawn. Gwetch, for all you've done. You have stood ground for so long and for so many months. That has said, just volumes to me, to the person you are.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I mean that from my heart. That's right to you. And I don't know, I just asked to be your friend, so we're on Facebook. So that, and I met Robert through this whole process, and I'm really grateful to have met Robert, because he's got a tool here we can use to get the word out, and that is really important in educating people and getting people moving. So I'm excited in a good way. Okay, Robert?
Yeah, definitely. Tashea, did I say her name right? Tashea? Is that right?
Tasia.
Okay, it's going to take me a month to get that, so don't feel left out. Ask Mary Kunish Podine. So I'd like to get you into the conversation too. What is this happening? What's happening up there? How's your heart? Tell us your story, please.
Buju, Dabiki Giza Skijikwe, Nindadishnakas, Nagachi Winang, Indunjiba, Magizi Dodam. My name is Tasia Martineau, and I'm a co-founder of Gitchigumi Scouts. And I started Gitchigumi Scouts in opposition of the Enbridge Line 3 pipeline. I realized that I cannot stop a pipeline on my own. And so what my goal for Gitchigumi was to put out that community support, to be the eyes on the ground, watching what's going on. What we do is we search and patrol for missing, murdered Indigenous women and relatives. We provide community care for Indigenous communities, both on the Fond du Lac Reservation, within the Twin Ports and neighboring communities. We were active with the Wall of Forgotten Natives a couple of years back. We hope to help assist this year as well. I guess my activism wasn't born out of this like grandiose thought that I was going to stop climate change or stop a pipeline or change the world. My activism was born out of very real fear. Growing up as an Indigenous child, biologically female, I was always taught the statistic that we face is 1 in 3. And I have 3 beautiful young Indigenous daughters. When infrastructure such as KXL, Dakota Access Pipeline, and Line 3 go up, the statistics we face as Indigenous people, especially the rate of violence against women, increases. I believe I've heard it said that it increases by 22%. And so for me, as a mother with 4 children, 3 of them being female, I ask myself every morning, which one? When I watch these white trucks drive past my lands, I watch their eyes trespass the bodies of the children of this tribe, not only just my ancestral lands, but I have to, you know, I made the choice to put myself on the line, and I made the choice to be the one to watch for predatory behaviors, because we need someone ready to put boots to the ground and respond every time a child or woman or even man goes missing. I carry photos of the missing with me. I have a deep connection to this land and these people. You know, I'm an enrolled member of the Fond du Lac Band of Lake Superior Chippewa, and I'm still proud of that. Regardless of the choice that the reservation's business committee made, I'm still proud to be from Fond du Lac, because I may not be proud of my elected leaders, but I'm proud of each and every member of this tribe. I'm proud of the children and the next 7 generations, and that's why I'm doing the work that I'm doing. The work I do is very heavy. A lot of it has a great deal of trauma that we navigate, but it is an honor to stand with and support these families through this. It is a responsibility as Anishinaabe people to care for one another, and I try to put that into my work as often as possible. I was really upset with the decision that was made by Governor Tim Walz, but I really wasn't surprised. At the 2019 MMIW March, I met Tim Walz, and he showed up, and I remember him announcing himself our ally. And you don't come into Indigenous spaces as if you're like, you've earned that. You know, that's something you have to prove every day, is your allyship. You don't just show up and announce yourself that because you're the governor and it's just given to you. And so I confronted him afterwards, and I asked him where he stood on the Line 3 issue. And it was like, as an Indigenous woman who was like asked there to speak at the MMIW March, he was screaming at me. And all I could keep saying to him was, stop Line 3, stop Line 3. And he was just getting angrier and angrier at me. And it was embarrassing. There was like people watching us. I'm like arguing with the governor, but you know, those are positions I put myself in because there are young children in my tribe who are watching that. I come from a very checkerboarded community. This pipeline has divided my community. There are members of my own family who do not speak to me because I choose to be in open opposition. Being in open opposition of this pipeline puts me at great risk. I'm raising my children here. When all the live streams stop and stopping Line 3 isn't the next Standing Rock, I'm still going to be here, hopefully. And hopefully the waters will still be breathing. I risk banishment from my own ancestral homelands that I've chosen to protect. The RBC has that power to withhold housing, food programs, anything they choose. That hasn't been a reality for any of us here who are in open opposition yet, but we know that this is only the beginning. A lot of days, you know, I spend crying and praying for my community because I come from an area that's very devastated by drug and sex trafficking. Almost every other house within my community is related to or has heard of someone who's gone missing. The addiction rates on my reservation are very high, and every time this company comes through, even doing just integrity digs, I've seen an increase of both the drug and the sex trafficking. And I'm really proud of my sister, Misty Babineau, with MM350, who's launching an MMIWR campaign. And her hopes with that is to, you know, get these statistics into like writing and start collecting data in communities along the route that are affected by this pipeline. And that way, when the next big fight comes, you know, we're ready. I feel like every day moving forward is about learning and growing and, you know, fostering those connections that we've made with one another. The relationships that we've made on this journey are going to be so severely important to us. It's like the way I view relationships as an Indigenous person, that's a medicine to me. Every person I've met in that relationship, I've grown with them. That's added to a braid, similar to sweetgrass, you know. And we really need to start caring for our relationships, recognizing who it is we can reach out to in times of support, because the days moving forward are going to get hard, they're going to get dark, and they're going to get just even colder. So we need to remember that in times like this, to be kind and to spread some warmth, because this black snake is coming. And we knew from the get-go that Tim Walz and the PUC wasn't going to stop it. But I'm very proud of all the people who have gone to all the PUC meetings, who have spoke with senators out in Washington, who have, you know, doing what they can do to make a difference, like the youth climate interveners and everyone who's been involved with this journey. I'm just so very proud of each and every single person that I've met on this journey. And I hope that moving forward, my home community here in Fond du Lac will remember me as more than just the protester that Enbridge and the courts are going to attempt to paint me as. Because I made a promise to my children that I would stop Line 3. And that's exactly what we're going to do. Miigwech for sharing this space with me and giving me a chance to speak on that.
Pini Gigi, those are very strong words. And one of the things I'd just quickly like to ask you is what Line 3 brings to Fond du Lac, and what can we do? What can we do to help? So the kids want to tell you.
Yeah. I've got four. I'm raising the next generation of water defenders and land defenders, and I'm really excited about that. There's a question here saying I spoke at the Line 3 rally in Duluth 2 summers ago. 2 summers ago. I think this was last summer. I was pregnant with my son, actually. I have one son. And that's another reason that I'm putting boots to the ground so fiercely, is so that I can promise my son growing up he'll be able to gather wild rice. We didn't have any rice that summer. It was not a good crop that year. You know, when these workers come in, and I've heard so many different like conflicting arguments. I've heard people here in Fond du Lac tell me that, no, we need more Indigenous people working for the pipeline so that we can ensure that it's done right and done safely. And that's just not the reality. It doesn't matter who builds this pipeline. It doesn't matter who's getting paid to do anything. You know, the way I see it is, if there's going to be a gun placed to your head and that trigger gets pulled, it doesn't matter who loaded that bullet in there. At the end of the day, you're still dead. And that, it breaks my heart. There's so many, this pipeline has literally divided this community. So much so that there are family members who no longer speak to me. And all the money that these people are making, they're making really good money. And when that's like a beacon of light for those lost souls who are, you know, missing in their own sense. They're like missing their spirit inside them, and they're trying to find ways to fill that emptiness there. And they're doing it with money and drugs and sex. And a lot of these people go to these camps willingly trying to make some money, and they never come home. And I made a promise to my community that if someone goes missing, I'm going to be there. You know, I made a promise to every woman of my tribe and all tribes that I will kick down doors for you. And I mean that. You know, I will risk arrest to make sure that the missing make it home. Because as Indigenous women, you know, every time one of us goes missing, that woman there, that's my mother, that's my daughter, that's my sister, that's my auntie. Statistically, that's me. And for people to just turn their heads at these statistics and not believe that how interconnected these issues are when we've literally seen it and lived it, it's just heartbreaking. And I hope that the more we speak on this, the more education we get out there, the more awareness we draw. I'm hoping that more women will step forward, more warriors will start answering that call, because it's so necessary. We're not going to be able to stop this pipeline with just one camp. You know, like Tara Huska is amazing, but she can't stop this pipeline on her own. We need the people who are sitting at home, who are still on the fence, to get involved. My community needs you to put your boots to the ground and join us. You know, my children need you. I need you. Every person out here within Fond du Lac, whether they're in opposition or not, we need you. And we need camps to start going up, and we need people who are willing to do what they need to do to defend the sacred, because that's not just a rallying cry out of protest, that means something. And we need that to mean something to each and every one of you who are watching today.
Wow, Tasia, that is so very, very emotional. And yes, thank you so much for sharing your story and your concern for your community up in northern Minnesota. I am the one who passed legislation to create this task force to study the missing and murdered Indigenous women in Minnesota. We'll have a report coming out with recommendations for across the state, across the departments, across the commissioners, as to what we need to have done in order to eventually eliminate this whole MMIW pandemic. And it is a pandemic. I mean, early on, I heard people call it an epidemic, and I thought, no, it's more than an epidemic. A pandemic is worldwide, it's global. And this has been an issue that has been global for every continent, every country where men have stepped onto it and created a kind of community or a kind of world where women are disposable, where children are disposable to be used and abused and thrown away. And so as we put forward these recommendations, and with the understanding that there are sort of foreigners coming into our communities, I really do want to stay in close connection with you and with the communities up there. If there is a rise or an increase in sex trafficking or women going missing, or anybody for that matter going missing, because we know it's not just women, we would love to hear about it. I would love to hear it about it at the Senate. And Misty Babineau has been a champion. She hit every single one of our hearings that we heard, testimony at the legislature. It was her personal story, her tragedy that she was willing to tell time and time again, as painful as it was, because she knew how important those stories are to moving the needle and getting legislation passed to protect our communities. And so I just want you to know that I need to have that information. I need to keep those lines of communication open to anyone in greater Minnesota, as well as pretty much anywhere, so that when these things are happening in real time, we can make a noise, we can make a stink, we can contact those that should be contacted. And I realize that there are people up there who want this line, who support this line, who will not support the community in the way that we would want them to. But we have to find ways to build allies across it. And it's not just me at the legislature that would like to combat Line 3, would like Enbridge to just leave the state and never come back. So just know that you have friends and allies at the state legislature who are willing to make some noise and to possibly create legislation that is going to hold those guys accountable and perhaps even prevent that pipeline from happening. And so I really thank you, my dear. I can imagine what it's like to raise 4 small children in a community that is so divided, that has the threat of increase in addictions and violence in so many ways. And I just hope that you and your family are safe during this time, and know that we are watching and hoping that there are ways that we can support you and help your communities through this really, what I am expecting to be a pretty hard, tragic time.
Well, yeah, Mary, we're going to be doing a show. Is it next week that we're going to do it on MMIW?
I'll have to check and see when we can get that put together, but we will be sharing. We have to wait for the report to come out first, and then we will be sharing the information that we've collected and the recommendations for the legislature and other committees and commissions.
So it'll be up here. We'll do a symposium on Sunday and discuss it with your group of workers that have worked diligently on the MMIW bill.
Yeah, it'll be probably the second week of December or so.
Awesome. What I'd like to do too now is just to do a real quick thing here is Nancy Bolio wanted me to put up mn350.org/treaty pledge, and she wanted me to bring that up, and I'm glad to do that. Also, what I'd like to do too is I would like to there it is too on the screen. What I'd like to is to wrap the show up, and what I'd like to really do is start with Dawn, and then we'll end with Mary, and then I'm going to make you others guess when you're going to be up. No, I'm kidding. But I want to start with Dawn, and thank you, Audrey. And we'll go for there, and we're going to wrap up this great show. And I just want to say before we go to Dawn is that please share your stuff to Native Roots Radio so we can blast it out too. When there's things happening up north, we have the capacity here to reach many people to support you water protectors up in the deep north. So Dawn, if you don't mind going first and then saying a closing statement, that would be totally awesome.
All right. Yes. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for listening this evening. Thank you all on the call, and thank you, Bob, for having us on, Robert for having us on. And yeah, in closing, I guess, when people ask, well, what can we do? Stay tuned is what comes to my mind. And then I'm also thinking is that I have warm boots, but a lot of the people around here might not have real warm boots and warm winter clothing. So just stand by, and if you can help out in that way, that would be great.
That's awesome. And hopefully we'll be talking to you again real soon. Really, thank you so much for all you do. And I know Nancy Bolio is so excited that you two could come on tonight. And I say Peenagigi too. And also don't ever call me Bob. All right. So, do you mind saying a few words here and ending with us? And I really appreciate your story. And now I do remember you because we did a Native Roots Radio Live up in Duluth during that. So please, you have the floor and take as long as you'd like.
In closing, I guess I'd just like to remind people that a lot of us who are on the ground front lines doing different types of works, we all have, there's a variety of tools, and we're all diversifying the way that we are coming at this pipeline, and I think that's very necessary. But many of us are grassroots, so if you find people like GNU Collective, Gitchigumi Scouts, and I believe there may be other groups as well, I'd just like to ask those who come from a place of privilege and who have the ability to share and relocate those is just remember those of us who are risking it all here on the front lines, not only for my children and my hopefully someday grandchildren, but for all of our children of all tribes. Protecting the Minnesota watersheds is so important because I'm here in a place where the water flows in all 4 directions. If a spill were to happen here, it's going to affect everywhere. And that's a very scary, serious reality. And I just want to thank everyone again for opening up the space and sharing it with me and giving me the chance to tell part of my story. You can follow us at Gitchigumi Scouts on Facebook. We oftentimes do like donation drives for different communities that are affected by MMIW, drug addiction, and we are an anti-pipeline group, so we're pretty proud of being like a radical group of Indigenous anarchists. So like if you're going to follow our page, just like be well aware of that. We're very outspoken. We're very proud of that. It's an honor for us to be able to channel a warrior spirit because for 500 years, that was the prayer on the lips of broken children in boarding schools, is for those of us with the ability to channel that spirit to rise again. And I see that happening now all across Turtle Island. And I just want to urge those of you who are maybe listening at home, sitting there wondering how you can best help. There are millions of ways. You can get involved personally by putting boots to the ground. You can help amplify the voices of Indigenous people by, maybe you work at a university and you want to ask one of us to come and speak and share our story, helping generate awareness by sharing our posts, following our Facebook pages, or like, even just like, we post a lot of flyers of missing people. Wherever you are at, whether it's like here in Minnesota or maybe you're 3 states away, I have no idea where these people who've gone missing may end up. Nobody knows that. So if you're to print those flyers off and post them up in your community, it only takes one person to recognize a missing relative. And there are so many people who are added to that list every single day. So for you to get involved in that way, it could be life-changing for a family member who is still missing that loved one. Again, I want to thank everyone for sharing this space with me, listening and amplifying the voices of everyone here. Miigwech.
Well, Pini Gigi for coming on, and I hope to have you on again with your truth. It was beautiful. And I would like to go to City Council person, Audrey Thayer. You're up and speak your truth.
City Council person elect. We have to wait a while. I thank you for including me in the space tonight. I appreciate it. And of course to see, what dawned on me tonight was that we had all these women who are leading, which is part of our teachings. And there they were, and it is all a part of our prophecies, what's going on, and I know that. And so I kind of started getting emotional in the midst of this, thinking about the women, and how we lead and how we're in the center of life, and we give life, and and our men, our men who are warriors, is they're there for us. They always are there. And I thought about that even during the campaign. The majority of those who worked with me on the campaign were all men that were behind the scenes and walking door to door, and because they understand our we're Anishinaabe. We're Anishinaabe. You know, and so miigwech for this evening. Miigwech. I guess that's what I want to say right now. We really need to pull together and make sure we get the information out. And I made sure I wrote down the connection so I can keep on that so that I'm following. And it helps when you're in community talking to people, and I will be. And you have to have a well-framed remarks to people who don't know, and we have a whole city of them that don't know here. So,
well, Pinigigi, Audrey, I love having you on, and I love hearing your spirit and your voice and your stories and your truth and really, and your t-shirt, Mary, your t-shirt's coming this week. But I'll let you know. I know poor Mary's been waiting for 2 years, but
2 years.
Oh wow!
But hey, Mary, would you love to? I'd love you to not end this, but to speak your truth, and then we'll end the show. So it's great having you as always, Mary.
Well, thank you, Robert, and thank you all of those that spoke up today. And like we say, speak your truth. You think back to Standing Rock and that Lakota phrase, "Mini Wichoni, water is life." It was the protest anthem that was heard around the world. People came from around the world to support those folks at Standing Rock, and it wasn't just a protest anthem or a catchy phrase, but it has spiritual meaning that's really rooted in our Native community and our cultural and our spiritual world views. And it's not that, it's not just that water is water, but it sustains our life. It is sacred to our families, it's sacred to our ancestors, and it will be sacred to those that come after us. So our job is to educate. Our job is to protect our rivers and our streams and our waters, and look for ways to really bring the message of restoration of the indigenous ways, that we can really create a world and an ecosystem that will be there for our next 7 generations. And so I am proud to be here with you this evening. I am proud to stand with you as we move into the future and into possibilities of what this pipeline might bring to the communities, not just in Minnesota, but across the country as these pipelines continue. And we hope that we find a way to make sure that it doesn't happen, because for so many reasons, this pipeline just should not be coming through our communities. And so thank you all for being here. Thank you for allowing me to be here with you. Wopalatonka, and take care, everyone.
Pinigigi, Mary, very courageous for you standing up against the governor right away and his decision. I just want to personally thank you for that. It made my heart sing. I also just want to end the show right now where I always say, you need to resist, join a group, run for office. You've been listening to We're Still Here, the Sunday Native Symposium on Line 3. And I want to thank Winona and Tara for stopping in, and thank all my panel here tonight. We're still here. We are the 7th generation.
We are Calusa Nation.
Welcome to the Sunday Symposium. We're Still Here, presented by Native Roots Radio Network. This is a Native conversation of where we've been and where we're going.